America. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. To serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Following program are pre-recorded.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Out in the wild, where the prairie winds blow, there's a big bad summit where the evil seeds sow. Christy and her boy with hearts of stone, Jimmy Powell, bald head, they claim the throne. Steal the land, steal the money, betray the people, ain't it funny? Lead truck on power, Casey with lies, will the mighty mouse under darkened skies. They're like vultures circling above, beating off our dreams, destroying what we love. Their greed knows no bounds, their hearts are cold, but we won't stay silent as their stories unfold. Steal the land, steal the money, betray the people, ain't it funny? Lead truck on power, Casey with lies, will the mighty mouse under darkened skies. But we'll rise up strong and fight back now, with truth as our weapon and justice as our vow. We'll stand together against this tyranny and reclaim our land.
Artist unknown, Lori Hintz from Beck News, but that sprang up out of South Dakota. So you're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. Lori Hintz with Beck News, brand new app. Check it out, becktv.plus. And okay. Normally, I would start in North Dakota with what's going on with Summit Carbon Solutions' proposed CO2 pipeline, but that song came across my desk this weekend, and I went, okay.
Whoa.
And I got looking at it a little bit more in South Dakota, and there's a big fight down there. In fact, I know Trent Luce is going to be down in Aberdeen coming up. Then he's going to be up here in Bismarck as well. But, Trent on the Loose with Beck TV.
Correct.
But I got talking to him a little bit, and we get snippets because we're kind of in some circles here, but the fight in South Dakota, holy crap, Lori.
It's wicked. You were right. I've watched what's going on down there, and I've got a couple of contacts that I keep in touch with also down in South Dakota, and you're right. They are fighting the good fight down there. They really are trying to protect their land. And it's the problem is that there are so many layers where these people are fighting, because what's going on is that you've got many within the system, particularly the Senate in South Dakota with their session, and they're all for the pipeline. So it's a fight. You're right.
Now, there's a lot of pushback after I forget what that bill was called, but it was landowner rights something or other. I'm like, it couldn't be as far from the truth as anything, which, speaking of truth, we're going to talk about some Public Service Commission testimony here coming up in just a few minutes. Perjury is a pretty strong term, and I don't know what else to call it, but we'll get into that in just a few seconds. Okay. But seeing as how we started with South Dakota a little bit, what I found out in doing some homework is through the Kristi Noem administration, because remember a long time ago I said, why is she not saying anything on this? And we're learning why. The tentacles through her administration and former administration and family members that are involved in the pipeline and with Summit, whether ancillary or directly. Oh, my gosh. You talk about the level of depravity between the governor's office here in North Dakota and Summit Carbon Solutions, and some elected officials here in North Dakota and Summit Carbon Solutions. It pales in comparison to what's going on in South Dakota.
Want to hear something horrific? It's even worse in Iowa. It's even worse.
Well, I would assume that because that's where it started.
Correct.
But you go back multiple governors and administrations in Iowa.
Correct. All the way to Terry Branstad. Yep.
But you go into South Dakota, and there's a lot of Kristi Noem crap hanging from that Christmas tree.
Yeah, it is all true. And it's incredibly frustrating to people like Jared Bosley. I saw a clip of Jared Bosley this week that was just phenomenal. I think it was like 19 minutes long. And Jared Bosley is the gentleman who is the farmer from South Dakota who had the drill come onto his land. And by that point, they had already vilified him as a company and told him he had to be 300 feet away from everything. So he had plenty of other friends there who were able to watch them, rip up his yard, rip up his whole field. And then drill down and then leave things all over the place. It was just it was a horrible experience for him and his family. And that was, if you remember way back in the summertime of last year, and I want to say it was July, Jared Bosley, if you look it up, Jared Bossley, I think it is. And if you look, or Bossley, but if you look him up, you will find all sorts of clips of him doing all sorts of different media and just telling people about what his experience has been with Summit Carbon Solutions. It started when his wife was in the farmhouse and he was out in a field 10 miles away. And this was the fellow who had the video because he has a cow calf camera right out in his barns. And so he was able to get and save the video of the people literally going into his outbuildings without permission. They were going into, they knocked on the door at the house, and then his wife was upstairs taking a shower and she heard somebody in the house and they are hollering at her.
They were actually in the house?
In the house, not even kidding. Yeah. Well, yelling in the house, yelling in the door of the house.
Okay, that's how people get shot.
Exactly right. And so she had just had surgery, and so she was slow to come down. By the time she came down, she saw that there was some weird random Louisiana plate car or truck in the farm area, and so he didn't know any of this.
Did you ever read the book In Cold Blood?
I know, right?
Defend yourself first.
I know. Well, this is the thing is that they have it on video. And then what happened was he was on a 6-second phone call with his wife, literally 6 seconds, because he saved it on his phone so that he knew how long he had been on. And I tell you what, in 6 seconds, they claimed at Summit that the wife who had the telephone there had the phone and that he threatened them. And so they took Bosley to court. He apparently threatened them in 6 seconds, which is completely impossible.
You're trespassing.
Exactly. He said
you shouldn't be here.
All he said was, and he has said this numerous times on various things that I've seen his reporting on, but he said, I said, if it's Summit, then the sheriff needs to be called. And that's about 6 seconds right there. So that is about all he had a chance to say. And Summit took him to court, and then they found him not guilty, but they wouldn't let him give any of his evidence. It was just a kangaroo court and ridiculous. And as it turned out, they did get a protective order so that if he wanted to be anywhere near them, he had to be within 300 feet.
Even on his own property.
On his own property, yeah.
The proliferation of liberal judges and the things that people are getting away with because of that, people haven't paid attention for that as well as they should have.
Yeah, it was shocking. The whole story was just really, it's really good to hear it from Jared Bosley himself if you ever get a chance. If you want me to get his information for you, I think he would make a great interview. He is one of those very trepidation, not wanting to do this type of thing. He's the last person you would expect who would be the tip of the spear. And
we run into a lot of that here. There's a lot of landowners that this is the last thing in the world they want to be working on right now.
Exactly.
And they've dedicated a good chunk of their life in the last couple of years to standing up for their property rights.
No question.
Tell you what, you just had a new segment come up on Beck with
Capturing America's Heartland. Yeah, CO2 pipeline. Mm-hmm.
We're going to play that when we come back and then start breaking all that down because there's a lot in that 3-minute clip. You're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken along with Lori Hintz from Beck News. They got a brand new app. You can check it out, becktv.plus. Spell out the word PLUS. That's becktv.plus. And you can find all kinds of cool stuff right there, including the whole history of Summit Carbon Solutions' proposed CO2 pipeline. When we come back, we're going to hear about a little bit about what took place with the first public hearing for the Public Service Commission at the Bismarck in Mandan. That's coming up next on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's learning environments are designed for supportive networking and collaboration. With over 330 academic programs, GCU provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Find your purpose at GCU. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bakken along with Lori Hintz from Beck News. You can go to becktv.plus. Their brand new app as well. You can download that. We're talking with Lori about all the latest from Summit Carbon Solutions' proposed CO2 pipeline. And Lori came out with a brand new segment, Capturing America's Heartland CO2 pipeline. Let's give it a listen.
North Dakota's Public Service Commission held its first of 3 scheduled public hearings for the Summit Carbon Solutions proposed CO2 pipeline siting after it denied its application August 4th and then September 15th granted its petition for reconsideration. The hearing was held at the Baymont Inn and Suites in Mandan Monday, April 22nd, and an estimated 70 people were in attendance. Judge Hope Hogan introduced counsel for the various interveners, the second of which was Wade Basons, Summit Executive Vice President, who explained he had been involved with the reroute and had reached out to the Bismarck interveners.
They were Chad Moldenauer, Chad Wachter, and John Warford.
Okay, please continue.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, had numerous meetings with Bismarck area interveners. Again, after that, learned, really their primary concerns and, got some input on how to address them.
The hearing continued with Summit COO James Powell after a lunch break, and he reported that a new 55 miles had been added to the pipeline reroute. Attorney Derek Broughton questioned Powell about cultural and environmental surveys.
And so the court is giving you property rights.
They're giving us access to the property to survey.
So they're giving you a right to enter the property?
Yes.
After an afternoon break, public testimony began, and 8 landowners spoke about their individual experiences, safety concerns, and being adjacent to land where the pipeline would be situated, but having no voice because the pipeline would not be on their actual land. Representative Mike Brandenburg spoke in favor of the pipeline, saying he is concerned about the future of corn in the state. PSC Chairman Randy Christman questioned his proximity to the proposed pipeline.
Is this close to... 2 questions. How close does this get to any of your property, and how close to your residence?
Commissioner Christman, I'm 30 miles away from the pipeline.
Chad Moldenauer, owner of K&L Homes and member of the Bismarck Interveners Group, said he was not planning on testifying, but felt he needed to appear and correct what he called untrue statements made by Basans.
In no way have I collaborated with Summit Carbon Solutions to determine this new route. Any assertions made by Mr. Basons or Summit Carbon Solutions that I participated in their decision to place this route where it is right now is a lie and a complete fabrication.
After Moldenauer concluded his testimony, another 5 people testified, and the hearing concluded at around 6:15 p.m. No further days were needed for the PSC hearing for Burley, Morton, and Oliver counties. A date for a needed technical hearing has not yet been set. The next PSC public hearing is scheduled for Wahpeton, Friday, May 24th.
Okay, Lori, a lot to unpack there.
True.
My gosh.
Yeah, there were some really interesting moments. I was there.
Like I said, perjury comes to mind for me. Okay, if I am the Public Service Commission and I hear that somebody perjured themselves, then every bit of testimony they have ever made needs to be stricken from the record.
What's really troubling about this?
Well, but think of it this way. So one of the things attorneys try to do is kind of impeach a police officer, because police officers quite often testify. And once they're tainted, then they pull that record back up. So if you have a police officer that was in a compromising position or maybe didn't get something accurate and it was proven in court, then from a prosecuting attorney's perspective, that's a non-starter. That officer is no longer able to testify in a court case.
Basons is an vice president of Summit. And he, like every other single one of the 18 witnesses that day that I watched the entire thing. I was there for the entire 9 hours of the Public Service Commission meeting.
God bless you.
Thank you.
I could not sit there the whole time.
I was there. I didn't want to miss anything, because every time, there was a new witness, they gave completely a different story, and it was amazing. There were some really fantastic witnesses, but they started with a guy named Dan Pickering, and then Wade Basans was second of
okay,
them.
so let's go back to Basans.
Yes.
And I want to tie this back to Moldenauer. And Moldenauer, and I've talked to the three interveners that he mentioned, Moldenauer, Wachter, and Warford. And basically the reason they're not interveners anymore, and we had this conversation concerning Scott Hennon and Friends of Ag and Energy lying, saying that, they're supportive of this project now.
Not true.
Not true.
That is not true.
Chad, in this case, was actually watching it and had not intended to come, because he's not an intervener anymore.
Correct.
Because it was the financial side, and that mantle's been picked up by other entities.
Right.
So those attorneys are working.
So he's in his office, and he's watching Public Service Commission live feed, and he's watching this, and he hears Basans say this, and he's like, I can't let that go, because that is not even true. So he showed up and
Mr. Moldenauer is an attorney. So if you perjure yourself, an attorney is going to call BS flag.
Well, it was really surprising to see him there. I did not expect to see him there. He, was not in the building for most of the day, and then just came in later on in the afternoon. He was the 13th of 18 different witnesses that were called. And so it was later in the day, and he came in and he said that, and the whole room just kind of went, what? Wow. Now, just so people know.
But this is, and this is me, this is an indicator of the way Summit has done business since day one.
Their words have often not matched reality.
Okay, you're far kinder than I am.
You're welcome. Well, here's the thing. If you are at this hearing, and it is a hearing, you've got a judge, you've got people who are attorneys who are at the table for various sides, and then you've got witnesses. So it's very much like a trial. The one thing that happens at the very beginning is Hope Hogan, the judge, literally says, all right, do you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth? It's all under perjury possibility. I mean, she literally says to every single witness in there, did you hear what I said earlier about perjuring yourself? They make a big deal out of it. And all 18 people had to sit there, and Hope Hogan asked them, so do you know what I'm talking about do you understand what perjury is? Do you understand what the penalties are? Over and 18 times, mind you.
So Jason Speece and I had this conversation last week, and we talked about the misinformation coming from the Coin Slot Scott realm with Friends of Ag and Energy. And what his statements were in conjunction on a different program about, the interveners, they're all on board. What we came up with is it's a case of if you tell the lie long enough, they begin to believe it. And they're hoping that everybody else will believe it, because it doesn't matter if it's a lie at that point. If you say it enough, it must be true.
It was really...
That's the sense I'm getting.
Yeah, it was really interesting. A couple of different things that were said during the day elicited some kind of low murmurs from the stage. I will have to tell you, the crowd was superb, as always, holding back their emotions, not making noise, not being groaning or things like that when they heard things that were I'm just very impressed with the the fact that the landowners have really used their discipline in these PSC cases, because it has got to be incredibly difficult for them to do so. But when we went through those first 3 witnesses, they were all 3 Summit witnesses right off the bat. And then there were a slew of witnesses who were landowners and people who were land adjacent.
Okay, so Basons, which I'll flat out say perjured himself, he lied. He lied under oath. That's a problem. We're going to get to James Powell when we come back. This is Talk of the Town. We're talking with Lori Hintz from Beck News. You can go to becktv.plus. Their brand new website, brand new app. Check it out. Summit Carbon Solutions proposed CO2 pipeline. All the information right there with... oh God! You just can't make all this stuff up, Lori.
It's amazing. It's been astounding.
When you start to believe the lie that you're trying to tell other people, and then hoping that they believe the lie, but you actually really do believe the lie because you've said it over and over again. It's an interesting place we're at. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
Without apology, The Regular Joe Show with Joe Gigante. Weekday evenings at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken along with Lori Hintz from Beck News. You can go to becktv.plus. Follow all the latest with Summit Carbon Solutions proposed CO2 pipeline. Lori, you got a brand new, we just heard the clip, you got a brand new segment up there. You got a lot into 3 minutes.
I tried my best to try to get it into, and it was 9 hours put into 3 minutes. But it was some of the most amazing things that I heard.
Working some magic.
It was, you learn how to be concise. Anyway, so James
Powell was one of the...
Right. COO
of Summit Carbon Solutions.
And the interesting part about his testimony was when it came time for attorney Derek Broughton, who is the Northwest Landowners attorney. He is landowners for the Bismarck area, and also he's the Emmons County intervener as well. He's the Emmons County attorney. His counsel, he is phenomenal. The guy loves his country, loves property rights, and he is so good at getting the answers he wants. And he's very methodical and slow about it. And it's fascinating and thoroughly enjoyable to watch because he is very thoughtful. So he kind of, you can hear it a little bit in the clip that I used in my story earlier. If you go back and listen to it, he gets James Powell, who is the COO, basically to explain that by using the courts, he can get property rights. So he just walked into it. It was unbelievable. Now, to be fair, Derek Broughton was the only one who was an attorney there. There was Zach Pelham, who is...
Well, until Chad Moldenauer showed up.
Until he showed up. That's true. That you're all right about that. But he was the only one. So normally Randy Bakke is the Burley and the Bismarck attorney, who is the one who is the Bismarck landowner guy, right? He was not there because they scheduled this when the Bismarck interveners could not be there. So that is why you hear things about a technical hearing. So this notice of technical hearing, and I referenced it in the end of that story saying that they hadn't given that date. Since that time, they have actually put out the notice of technical hearings from the Public Service Commission, and they put that out late Friday afternoon. And it came out, and it says a technical hearing is scheduled to begin May 28th. At the Bryn Hill Hoagland Room at the State Capitol. A technical hearing is scheduled for May 29th. At the Pioneer Room at the State Capitol. The next day, again, 8:30 in the morning. A technical hearing is scheduled for the 30th of May at 8:30 a.m. in the Pioneer Room again. A technical hearing then is scheduled to begin on June 3rd and that is at 8:30 a.m., and that is a Monday, I believe, and that's in the Pioneer Room as well at the State Capitol. So they have scheduled 4 of these technical hearings, and it says the issues to be considered in those hearings will be addressing the proposed route adjustments and supplemental filings and deficiencies noted in the Commission's August 18th order, which is the one that, of course, denied the siting. So those will be heard. This is the case number. If you want to see any information about what's going on with the case, it's very easy. There are over 538 different items on the docket already, which was more than DAPL had. And this case number is PU-22-391.
DAPL wasn't going to kill anybody.
Well, it's a completely different kind of pipeline.
It's different.
The thing is
oil, gas, and CO2 are different animals.
I'm going to bring something next week. I'm going to bring some audio clips for you next week from a guy named Lee Blank, who is the CEO of Summit Carbon Solutions. And he was at a New York summit that was talking about carbon capture and storage and CO2, and it is fascinating some of the things he had to say. So I'll bring that next week for you so that you've got those audio clips too. But I tell you what, this technical hearings are going to be very interesting as well. Burleigh County filed a request for a technical hearing on April 9th, and then the next day, the April 10th date, landowner interveners filed a request for a technical hearing, and so these are being granted as well by the Public Service Commission because they had scheduled these dates of these hearings and the Bismarck people could not be there. So they picked a date, unfortunately, where there were other extenuating circumstances for the attorneys to be able to be there. So,
that's where I kind of throw this out a little bit because so within the court system, and attorneys have multiple cases, and the court works with them to make sure that the judge's schedule, the court schedule, the attorneys on the prosecuting, the defense side, all those schedules mesh, and they make a lot of accommodations for that. Public Service Commission made no accommodations for this. And the reason that the court system does that is so that there's due process. There's no due process here if you're not making those considerations.
Well, they did great with Derek Broughton's help. I will tell you that in this case, there were 18 total people who spoke as witnesses at this Summit Carbon Solutions Public Service Commission public hearing that was on April 22nd.
Okay, I want to wrap up with Powell before we get into some of these, because some of these other giving testimony were rather impressive.
Very.
So, before we go on, I want to talk back to Powell.
Okay.
So, basically admitting that by manipulating the court system, you can steal somebody's land?
It was really telling when.
Okay, now, if you're a conspiracy theorist or not, and I tend not to be, but with what's going on with the 30 by 30 and
land
the 50
grabs.
by 50 and the World Economic Forum and their globalist agenda and the affront to private property ownership and private property rights, and we're seeing some of that with this.
Correct.
It's hard not to extrapolate some things. But unlawful taking of land through the court system because they found a loophole, or you've got liberal judges that are buying into some of that.
I'm still wondering about common carrier status. Thank you very much.
Well, at the end of the day, we still need to go back to that, where this is a private company, because I don't think a lot of people have enough conversation about the fact that this isn't a
public use,
a public company, publicly traded. This is a club. This is a private business that is privately trying to generate a lot of revenue off of somebody else.
Yep. When I was talking about that Lee Blank video that I was able to come across, what was interesting about it is he talked about the $8 billion project. Now, I remember when it used to be a $3 billion project, and I remember when it used to be a $5 billion project when they were talking about it, and they now call it an $8 billion project as of about the 16th or 17th of April. It used to be 31 ethanol plants.
It's kind of like the diversion in Fargo used to be. It'll never be over 900 million.
It used to be, it used to be 31 ethanol plants from 5 states, and now it's 57 ethanol plants from 5 states. So things have changed even in the last year that I've been covering this. just in 1 year.
All right, when we come back from the break, I want to talk about the next one up in your little clip, Representative Brandenburg.
Yes.
And he made a statement in there that I want to flesh out a little bit. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bachman along with Lori Hintz from Beck News. You can go to becktv.plus, P-L-U-S, and find all the latest with Summit Carbon Solutions' proposed CO2 pipeline. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bachman along with Lori Hintz from Beck News. You can go to becktv.plus, that's P-L-U-S, becktv.plus, brand new app, brand new, all kinds of cool stuff.
Yes.
I
Cool
love
features.
I love the live feeds in there, your news feeds, of course, the stories that you guys do, whether you want to look up the history with Fufang, you want to look up what's going on with Summit Carbon Solutions, a lot of information there. So
in fact, actually, if you're looking
sports,
for it, you can actually go back and watch full sports things. You don't have to just watch clips of it.
Yeah.
You can watch the whole thing. And the thing is, if you go to live shows and on demand, you will be able to see, you scroll down, and right next to China Conquest, which is a red logo, just to the left of that is where you'll find the whole thing on CO2, which is our whole, Capturing America's Heartland CO2 series. So you can, go back and look at this one that you can see what happened at this event on Monday the 22nd with Summit Carbon Solutions public hearing in Mandan at the Baymont Inn and Suites. It started, and interestingly enough, it started at 10 a.m. and not 9 a.m. because there was an accident on the interstate with a car accident that day that made it almost impossible for anybody to get from Bismarck to Mandan. The whole thing was backed up. I actually was on my way to go to the hearing, and I was coming off of Tyler Parkway, and I was going to get onto the on-ramp, and on the on-ramp were all the cars coming up off of the interstate onto the on-ramp the opposite direction. So I just about smashed into a truck that was right in front of me. It was just, I was like, okay, apparently I'm not taking that off-ramp because there's 25 cars on their way up off the interstate coming up there. So that was really interesting. But they started at 10 a.m. They went until 6:15 in the evening. They had a lunch break. They had a couple of other little, brief breaks. Other than that, they had witness after witness after witness and after witness. And one of them that we were talking about was Mike Brandenburg. So Mike Brandenburg is a legislator. He is a representative from District 28. And he was speaking on behalf of himself and Terry Wanzik, he said, which I don't know how you do that because you're
not supposed to be able to speak on somebody. You can't even speak on your spouse. You're giving your testimony.
It was weird.
Otherwise, it's hearsay.
It was weird.
Even with a spouse, otherwise it's hearsay.
And then he actually, his main push was toward ethanol, and he wants to protect corn in our state. And that was what his story was. That was his.
This has got nothing to do with corn. It really, okay, so going back to Jason Spees and I last Wednesday, we had this conversation about, because we were breaking down the Friends of Ag and Energy shill game. And, the money laundering Ponzi scheme that it is with CoinSlot Scott. And we were talking about that. This isn't, okay, so you've got one ethanol plant in North Dakota that's supposedly going to benefit from this.
Tharaldson,
over in Castleton. Mm-hmm. But how does this benefit corn? Because the ethanol plants
That's the story, Steve.
The ethanol plants are going to make all this money on the Q45 credits. They're going to get $85 a ton for the sequestration. Is there a checkoff that they are doing? Are they giving that money back to the corn growers, the farmers? No. There's going to be none of that money that trickles down to the actual producers. So when you're talking about saving corn, what are you talking about? Again, that is a lie. Another lie.
The other interesting thing about Brandenburg's testimony was what happens is in the hearing, Hope Hogan says, "Okay, would you like to ask a question?"
If you say that really fast, I'm thinking WWE.
Hope Hogan,
yeah.
Right.
What are you going to do when the holster runs? Yeah,
I
okay.
remember that.
Sorry, this is my inner Jason Spees there for a minute, but
I actually met Hulk Hogan one time in my. Okay, anyway,
I met his daughter.
So
she was over in Monoman I met her with Paris Hilton.
That's
actually.
crazy.
because they were singing or something. It was weird.
Way too much information and off topic. Okay, so what we were talking about was Hope Hogan, and what she does is she will go through the interveners in the room and she'll say, "Would you like to question the witness? Would you like to say anything to the witness?" And then they'll go through the three Public Service Commission people, who are Sherry Haugen-Hoffert and Chairman Randy Chrisman, and then also they have a what they call what's his title?
Fill-in.
Yeah, well, he's a fill-in, but that's not. They have a specific name for him, the decision maker, the substitute decision maker. Substitute decision maker.
Because Julie Fedorchak had to recuse herself because her land is part of the sequestration project.
So they go through those three, and they are able to ask questions. And Randy Chrisman asked a question of Brandenburg, and I caught it on the story. You can hear it. He just thought he would like to know, because every single one of the previous people who were up and who were witnesses were talking about how they were in very close proximity to the pipeline. Many of them this time, which was interesting, with the moved route of the pipeline around the city, are now across a road. They're just to the south of where the pipeline goes. That's where their home is, and it's just to the south. So what are the prevailing winds? They're from the north, right? So these people are like, it's not on my land, but I am affected by it because I am right next to it. So because of that prompted Chairman Randy Chrisman to ask Brandenburg how close he was to the proximity of the pipeline. He goes, "Well, I'm 30 miles away." And
why was he a witness?
Well, he felt obligated to come up and talk. He actually said that he wasn't for it at the very get-go when the whole thing was proposed in the beginning, but he had changed his mind.
After they wrote the check?
I don't know. Okay, he did not say that, but he did say that's an accusation that's not necessarily fair.
That's me
you use your adulting
speaking
skills.
Out loud. Okay.
Yep.
I have to? Someone's not. Why should I have to?
Here's the thing. When he asked him that, and Brandenburg says, "I'm 30 miles away from it," the whole entire crowd just went, and they just made this really interesting groaning sound like, wait a minute, what is he even doing talking? Just kind of like you just said. What is he doing talking about it? But, there are...
Because if I were to guess, and I'm guessing here because they will not, which I don't think they exist, do plume modeling, 30 miles away, you're probably pretty safe.
Likely, depends on the wind,
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say 30 miles away, you're probably okay.
When they just had this break in Sulphur, Louisiana just recently, there was a CO2 break. And in that case, they had very strong winds that day. And because of that, I think that saved the community. I really, truly do, because they had an O-ring break, and they had a huge, they had 2 hours of things coming out of that pipeline
because they couldn't get a hold of anybody.
They couldn't get anybody
company.
to right, and so because of
and that was a Denbury, wasn't it?
That was another Denbury one, yes,
which was acquired by Exxon, yeah.
But it was another case where they were really fortunate that nobody was hurt, and this time the weather
then there was nobody in the control room to actually shut it off because we're going to be really safe.
What people need to know about this pipeline, Steve, is that this is the first pipeline this company will have ever built. And people don't realize that. They think, well, it's very safe because they built a lot of 5,300, miles of CO2 pipelines already in the United States exist. However, this is a different thing completely because those pipelines are not 24 inches in diameter. They are not a trunk
feeder lines. They're 8 inches. They're feeder lines for a lot of cases. But
it's apples and oranges. So be careful when people give you an argument that you know all the actual facts about it, is what I'm saying. It's really important to know the details, like what is the PSIG? What is the pressure of this type of a pipeline at 24 inches in diameter? This is 2,183 PSI or PSIG, which is really a large amount of pressure. It's a completely different thing. And how far apart are the valves? Well, around the Bismarck area, the valves are 20 miles apart. So if there is a break anywhere in that 20 miles.
And the control room for those valves are a little further away than that.
Ames, Iowa is where the company and the control room will be.
If somebody's in the control room.
At all. So
it's hopefully somebody didn't go on a bathroom break or a coffee or a lunch break. We're talking with Lori Hintz from Beck News. You can go to becktv.plus, PLUS. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
KLXX Mandan Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.
Grip. Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort, meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Program schedule, updated local news, sports, contests, and more. Visit today at supertalk1270.com.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Viken along with Lori Hintz from Beck News. You can go to becktv.plus, Beck, B-E-K, TV. Well, you know how to spell TV. dot plus, P-L-U-S. Their brand new website, brand new.
I'm sorry. That was fabulous. That was really good stuff.
Well, I hope you know how to spell TV.
That's wonderful.
I hope people know how to spell radio, too, for that matter.
That's good stuff, man.
We're talking about Summit Carbon Solutions' proposed CO2 pipeline. And, all right, going back through those that were testifying.
Yes.
There were some other names that popped up that I really hadn't heard before. Some other witnesses that did a really exceptional job.
They really did.
They made a case and they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, Lynette Dunbar was the first one of the public who actually spoke, and that was in the afternoon hours after lunch. And she just did a lovely job. And then Representative Sue Ann Olson, who's from District 8, actually went up, and she did a really terrific job, too. Galen Dewing, who spoke there, I've known him for a while. He's been part of this landowners group for quite some time. Carl Rakow spoke, and then there was a gal named Carolee Carruth. Now, if you get a chance to listen to the audio, and the audio is available, it's a 6-hour and 40-minute video or audio tape, so it's a long time to listen to it. But if you are driving and you have a chance to listen to this, I would listen for her because
you're driving across the state and back. It's a good day.
That's exactly right. And it is, there's some very compelling testimony. She just did a terrific job. Then Clint Phelan spoke, Galen Becker, who many people know. He's got a PhD. He's brilliant. And then came Bailey Elkins. Now, Bailey Elkins is a geologist by trade. And so she had some incredibly compelling testimony regarding geology issues.
So her testimony was actually quite fascinating because we've been listening to Curtis Junt quite a bit on the technical side of stuff because he's a pipeline engineer and has worked in a lot of that space in gas.
Right.
And we've heard a lot of his testimony and a lot of his technical expertise. This is a little different slant on the technical expertise coming from a geologist. And this really comes back to, well, North Dakota makes a good garbage can because the geology's right. Even though there's geology right across the street at some of these plants that is pretty similar.
She was terrific. I can't give you specifics because it's been a while now, but I will tell you that if you go back and listen to her, you will be wowed. You'll be wowed by the sheer technical knowledge that she has regarding geology and its interaction with a pipeline of this sort. So she was absolutely terrific. She came right before Mike Brandenburg, but then Chad Moldenauer came on, and then Ken Huber, Randy Olson, and Raul Brown. And those were the people who were the landowners. And then it was followed up in the end by EXP Energy Services, John Schmidt, and then Liuna's Kevin Prentice, who both, of course, are, technically attached to the project with Summit Carbon Solutions. So all in all, if you count Mike Brandenburg amongst the pro-pipeline people, you get 6 individuals, 3 of whom were actually, 2 Summit Carbon Solution people, 1 Pickering Energy Partners, and then EXP Energy Service in Lyona. So those 6 people, but then there were another 12 people against. So it was twice as many people who were landowners who were concerned, mainly with safety issues for themselves and their families. I think it was Carolee Cruz said, you know what, I'm not interested in this pipeline. I don't want my children to be dead. I mean,
pretty blunt.
She was very, very, very honest about it, and it was very powerful. So it was interesting, and once again, I have to applaud the folks who were there. There were about 70 people in the room, and I have to say they were polite, and they were quiet, and they listened, and they testified, and it was all in all very serene, like it's supposed to be, and that's the way the PSC has a long history of doing it, and then it was the same way. So nothing. So if you ever hear any stories about those rabble-rousing landowners, just believe that that's not true. It was none of that. It was they're all very kind people, and they're all very polite.
There is one other thing, though, because there was a little kerfuffle about outside of the room, and I want to get your take on this, because Summit Carbon Solutions had a
table.
Yeah, they had a table and a big banner, and this isn't an advertisement for this. Is supposed.
It was odd.
This is supposed to be. Now, I would expect that at Friends of Ag and Energy,
correct?
Because that's a paid-for promotional event.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were outside of the room, so somebody must have given them permission to do so, and they had a table set up and then flyers on it so that you could, go and talk to Summit Solutions, Carbon Solutions people if you want to. And I saw that as their attempt to be accessible to the public, because generally...
Well, and that was my question, because I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of different takes on whether or not it was trying to bias the room, bias the witnesses, bias those that were there just to watch, or if it was actual outreach, which they've done a very horrible job of.
Interestingly, there was a gentleman in the room who had a sign that said no CO2 pipelines, and he was told that he had to take that sign out of the room. And so he placed it right next to the very tall banner that was a vertical banner outside the door that was Summit Solutions. So he put it right next to that, and then it magically disappeared later on for some reason. But
although I did see that picture pop up, or that sign pop up in a picture right behind Harold Hamm.
Right, and then that was when Hope Hogan.
That was kind of.
Yeah, that was when Hope Hogan said, "All right, you need to take that out of the room, sir." And so he complied, and he did that. And it was interesting. I did see Sabrina Zanora there, and she is the person who individually made a reach out to me when I was at the Emmons County hearing in Linton, some very many months ago. And so she was there, and I, waved at her as she was there at the table manning it too. She's kind of their public relations person there. It was all in all, it was a really interesting experience to hear all of the different testimony. It was definitely, it's worth a listen. If you have lots of time on your hands and you want to go and listen to that, I would say do so. There are, as I said, some technical hearings that will be coming up the end of May. The 24th, I believe, is the Wahpeton hearing.
Now, that one's going to be interesting because that's on the other side of the state. Now, I'm going to guess that the Emmons County hearing is probably going to go a little similar to the one that took place over in Mandan at the Baymont.
Correct.
I'm very interested to see what pops up in Wahpeton. And, I know there's starting to be a little bit of discussion around the feeder line coming out of Otter Tail County over in Minnesota, and I'm wondering if any of those people are going to show up and if they will have an opportunity to speak. They're not in North Dakota, but that line is going to affect them.
That's interesting. So I wonder if they're going to even be aware of it.
I'm wondering if that's going to take place, because the Wahpeton hearing, I'm guessing, is going to be a little different slant than what we're seeing here.
Now, I don't have a calendar near me, but May 24th is the one that is the Wahpeton one, I believe. And then later on, 4 days later, on May 28th, 29th, and 30th, and then the following Monday, June 3rd, that is like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the following Monday, June 3rd, are going to be the technical hearings that will all be held at the Bismarck State Capitol, Judicial Wing, ground floor, the Brynhild Haugland room for the first one, and the rest of them at the Pioneer room in the state capitol. So those will be interesting to observe as well. And you can, as always, learn more at psc.nd.gov at case number PU-22-391.
Or just cut out the middleman and go right to becktv.plus.
You can do that too and get a 3-minute report with 6 hours worth of information. It's 9 hours worth of information.
I cannot believe you crammed all of that into that little space.
But do what you got to do, Steve.
Yeah, you did what you got. Good job, though. Lori, thanks for the reporting, and Beck TV doing a great job.
Thank you.
Following up with a lot of different, I'll call them exposés. I mean, really getting to the root of investigative reporting, which we don't see a lot of anymore in this day and age. So thank you. Lori Hintz from Beck News. You can go to becktv.plus, BEKTV.plus, and find out all the latest with Summit Carbon Solutions' proposed CO2 pipeline. Also, Capturing America's Heartland, CO2 pipeline. You heard the clip earlier, but brand new episode that is up there as of today. So be sure to check that out as well. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken, along with Brad Ogg, General Manager over at Runnings, and we're just going to recall this Meat Stick Monday now because these meat sticks from Cloverdale are freaking awesome. I know there's not a flyer this week, but thanks for bringing the meat sticks in.
Oh, you bet.
And we had meat sticks last week too, so maybe it's no longer Jerky Monday. It's just going to be Meat Stick Monday.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about Cloverdale is the buyer has set us up so we can place our orders locally. And that
typically doesn't happen around the company or other companies either. You have to go through the general distribution and place your order, and it goes someplace else and comes here. And it's like, well, that's kind of silly because they're in our backyard.
Yeah, I send an email to our rep over there, and he goes, when do you want to pick them up? And sometimes I've been like, well, can it be ready in 2 days? And, oh, yeah, we can do that for you. Try to give us a week notice.
It's not like you say 2 hours.
Yeah,
right?
and then I drive over there. I back up to the door.
We got this really big fishing tournament coming up, and we have to sell a lot of meat sticks. So maybe 2 hours? No, okay, yeah. We'll talk about that coming up in a little bit.
But what's cool about that, though, is last week I just had an order for Rapid City, Belfouche, Baker, Glendive, Dickinson, Hettinger, Botno, Carrington, Mandan, and us. 10 stores we just placed an order for in our district. And it was, we all ordered 2 to 3 shipping cases of these, which is 6 to 8 packs a piece.
By the way, I have to apologize to you, Brad, because I drive down to Colorado for work and some different things quite often, and if the timing's right and I'm not driving through in the middle of the night, I always stop at the Runnings in Belfouche because I kind of like that store. And it's a great stop for usually I have my dogs with me, so I'll let my dogs out there and kind of walk around.
It's kind of like that.
I like that store.
It's the last stop before you leave town kind of too.
Yeah.
It's right there on the side of the road. It's super visible. Nice building.
It's a beautiful building.
And if you go down that direction, Brandon's the manager down there. Very, very nice guy. And if you try to talk to that guy, it's one of those things where you will be interrupted by probably 20 people. Because I'm like, Brandon, he's like, oh, how are the kids? Or, oh, man, how's that project going? Like, he knows.
Once I try to talk to you sometimes.
He knows so many of his customers down there.
It's your employees.
yeah.
It's the difference.
No, but, that is a fun store. If you're heading south, stop by. You got to give Brandon a hard time.
I love that store. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. I kind of sometimes might go to a different Runnings, but anyway, Cloverdale, great, and it's expanding around Runnings. I mean, people are really learning that Cloverdale's it's got it going on.
Yeah, I can't remember what the other brand was we carried about 8-9 months ago now because I never bought it, but Cloverdale did well over the holidays for us, and it's a brand that is in all of the stores. And I mean, at $4.99 and $5.99 for the 6-packs, we run a really good low everyday price. And he wants to run it on special again. So we're fingers crossed the buyer hits that thing in an ad this summer.
So, of course, the tangy summer sausage is the big one. These meat sticks are huge. Their bacon's phenomenal. But going back quite a few years, they used to do, so the options were tangy summer sausage and then the serve-a-lot, because of the C. And can't find that anymore. They quit making it, I think. And I like that better than the tangy summer sausage roll. Yeah, I really did. Made really good sandwiches when you're out hunting or fishing.
So we use tangy summer sausage was a track meet thing for me through high school. Anytime I had a track meet, my mom owned a bakery, so she would make the bread, and then we'd buy
the little buns, like the King's Hawaiian rolls or those little party
yeah.
Because it fits perfect in there, and those are the best buns with like
some sort of dinner roll,
about a half-inch thick. Yeah, like a dinner roll.
And now my oldest started track this year.
So keep the tradition alive.
We bought a stick of summer sausage on Saturday
just for track meets,
just so we can make it for her track meets, and she's
like
pumped.
Okay, we
digress.
All right, now we're all hungry. So, which for some reason on Monday mornings it seems to be a thing. It's the theme. Okay. Let's get back. Quick little recap of the garden show because that was going on. Talked to Kevin last week on just the tail end that you guys still hadn't really moved back and got things unpacked. Another great event.
Yeah, it was such a good year, and of course, as always, the Garden Expo hit. It's been beautiful. I'm like, oh, look at that. Let's snow while we unload the flowers this year. And then it was the overnight lows dipped below 20. And, the fear always comes around with that is, oh, no one's going to buy anything because of the weather. But no, it was such a phenomenal Friday night. Way exceeded our expectations in attendance. It was just, people were out. They were excited. Saturday, we had another good day.
Well, it was actually a perfect weather because people are like, oh, crap, I can't do anything outside, but I want to get outside. But the next closest thing is go to the Dakota Garden Expo because it's kind of like being outside, and I can start filling my wish list.
Yeah, and then you look at, Beck did the free admission this year again, and that is such a big part of that show, and you can bring the whole family, and you can just go walk around and see what's going on. So very excited for the Garden Expo. We had to keep the trailer one extra day, so Kev did Monday that day because I couldn't come over here, but we had flowers everywhere in trailers. We had to unload the trailers that day because the overnight lows were gone. Then we got to start setting up our greenhouse. We got a truck Monday, Wednesday, Friday last week, and now another truck this morning came in. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday again this week, we'll be getting trucks. We just asked, give us a little bit of time.
So what's the official opening for the greenhouse?
Well, so the weather was so nice, we were actually planning on opening the week before the Garden Expo.
Right, but
then those lows hit, so we pushed it back. I would say probably this past weekend. If you look at what the greenhouse, we have a lot of empty racks because all the trucks got slowed down. We had a good weekend, and the plans were pretty much set and out there on Friday. Today's truck, not super huge. It was 14 carts. That'll put a lot more out there. Wednesday's truck will be big. Friday's truck will be good. More trees, more bushes coming on Wednesday.
So what are the hours for the greenhouse?
Same as the store, 8 to 8, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
That doesn't happen a lot. A lot of greenhouses will close a little bit earlier. They got limited hours, not at runnings.
Yeah, we'll pull a cashier out to the shed, probably 9, 10 o'clock. We won't have someone out there the first couple hours, and we may pull that cashier at about 7 o'clock at night, but there'll still be someone out there in the greenhouse, doors open, people can shop it. Oftentimes, if there is a delay in the store during the summertime, it's because the greenhouse is open for an extra 10, 15 minutes for people.
Perfect. And you always get those last-minute shoppers. They're just kind of hanging out. And you know what I've noticed at runnings? You're really not in a hurry to kick them out. It's like, we still got stuff to do inside. You're fine.
Yeah, we got some tidying up to do. Like if you know what you need, I'm going to let my people go. I'll always have a cashier till about a quarter after, 20 after. A good example.
We're not saying that out loud because we don't want it to be the norm, but it happens.
Last summer, as we were closing, the phone was ringing and ringing and ringing. And we're like, oh no. So we're like, okay. So we went and answered it. I was like, hey. Runnings of Bismarck. It was Bradley. How can I help you? And we just got a horse. It was a horse rescue, and they needed 10 panels. and they had no place for this horse to go. I was like, yeah, you know what? And we didn't know that at the time. They're like, we need 10 panels. We're about 20 minutes out. I mean, I know you guys are closed. And we'd be like, you know what? I have a register outside. I got things to do. Perfect. You know, there's always stuff to do.
Right.
So we hung around, waited, and they pulled up and it ended up being the horse rescue. And they were just so appreciative. And now they're back all the time. They wrote a nice letter for us, which is always nice to hear good comments. You know, you get a lot of people calling with issues.
But that's the customer service side of things.
I love hearing good stories about the people in the store, and it's fun to share those in our morning meetings. And hey, Sarah got called out for this, or oh man, you know, Kyle did this for that customer, and they were so happy. And those are cool. Like in a retail setting, it's always good to hear that side too. All about the customer service. Make sure you stop by Runnings, the cool one. I do like Belle Fourche too, but it's not as cool as 701 South Washington in Bismarck. Of course, Runnings. Brad Ock, when we come back, this is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
With everything you have on your plate, earning your degree online seems impossible. But at Grand Canyon University, we specialize in helping you fit a master's degree in business into your busy day. Your graduation team, led by your own GCU counselor, provides you with the personal support you need to succeed. Achieve your goals with a plan and team behind you. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Visit gcu.edu.
To Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bach from Runnings, and you can stop by Runnings for pretty much everything. Of course, the greenhouse up and running now. The greenhouse has really grown over the last several years, like 3 or 4. It's really taken off. That means you've been able to bring in a lot of different plants and different varieties and different things, mostly at the behest of the customers. I mean, you've really expanded. Wendy, of course, she gets her tomato plants every year. That's one of the places she shops, and she likes this variety here and this variety here. But Runnings has got everything now. Yeah, you know, the cool thing about the greenhouse over the last 3 years, when we started setting up at the Garden Expo, the Dakota Garden Expo, I was amazed how many people who came shopping there. You guys, this is Runnings? Like the farm store Runnings? I'm like, yeah, this is Runnings. We have a greenhouse out in the parking lot. And just grow food. Yeah, it kind of makes sense, right? This past show, this last one we did, I heard it a couple times, but not as many times as the previous years. It just always amazes me how many people don't know we have this greenhouse. And Dan and Jerry's has done such an awesome job with reacting to what we're selling. And you talked about tomato plants. Holy cow, I bet there's 25, 50 feet of racking with just tomato plants on it, different varieties. Cherry, there's probably 5, 6 different kinds of cherry tomatoes out there. One of the coolest additions last year, and it was a hit, and we asked for it to come back, were the super hot peppers. So they did this fun line. It was probably maybe a 4-foot or 5-foot section of just hot peppers, and people loved it. We've had 3 people asking already. You know, the veggies haven't really hit the greenhouse yet because of the cold, but they should be coming pretty soon. And it sounds like those really hot peppers are going to be back on the market this time. Well, with as warm as the winter was and the warm snap we had before this last cold snap, and hopefully this is the end of it this week as we get into start getting into May. Not that can't snow in May, but what I've noticed is, because you can't really do a lot of planting until the ground temperature warms up, and the ground temperature's pretty good right now. And it jumped. You know, there was one day last week we were looking, because, you know, our carrots are in already, and we've planted, we have a cool little raised flower bed with a green canopy, and we sell our little green thing, and we sell it at the store. And we had it at the Garden Expo, and we sold a ton of them. It's just a 3x4, maybe 2x4. And we plant lettuce in there on our deck. And we planted it last week, and we have the greenhouse cover over the top. And once it gets warm, we'll just remove the cover, and we'll keep planting lettuce on the deck. And our kids will just go out and cut some lettuce once it finally gets matured and starts to go. We do lettuce from the deck. Our carrots are in the ground right now already. There was Dickinson was 20 degrees warmer than us, and then 2 days later our soil temperature caught up like overnight. It was just
wild how quickly the ground warmed up this year for us.
You know, I did for Wendy, my wife, I did the elevated garden thing. Our entire garden's elevated just because I wanted that little bit of extra being able to warm up a little bit earlier. It means we can get into the garden earlier.
You know, what were we going at? There was potatoes. So, you know, if some people don't have their potatoes in yet, we marked them all 20% off at the store right now.
Already?
So, yeah. So the potatoes are marked off. Well, it was kind of a late start. The ground was so cold for so long. They didn't ship them to us. And I don't know if that was a decision. They didn't want them sitting in a warm store too long. They wanted to keep them more temperature controlled, but we didn't have them come Good Friday, which typically we would have them on Good Friday. And they really held on to those this year. And potatoes are in a good spot right now. We do have a lot left, but they marked them all 20% off in our area just because it just got late. And we have them sitting at the store. But yeah, if you want to put potatoes in, now's your time. 5-pound and 50-pound bags.
Okay, Wendy will be over there.
But for the garden center too, that amazes me every single year. The people who come in, the plants are awesome. People requesting specific plants. We pass those along. We actually have a Dan and Jerry's rep from the greenhouse who works full time at the store now. Typically, we kind of got a person here and a person there, but we're big enough with Dan and Jerry's that they have a rep full time in the store, and he's always passing information along.
Okay, the question is, how long before the greenhouse is just going to become a permanent year-round fixture at the...
Yeah. Well, I think at that point, it'd probably have to need a building permit of some sort to have a permanent structure.
Dishing onto the store. That might work out.
Yeah.
You know, now that we're getting into some nicer weather, I know a lot of people, and if you haven't done your early prep as far as fertilizing and crabgrass prevention and all that stuff, you're running out of time.
Yep.
There's a lot of people I've noticed that are mowing already. And
yeah, my neighbors mowed the other day. I was like,
you got to have that one neighbor. You're like, you're making me look bad. Come on.
I know. I thought about mowing yesterday, and we're like, no, I'll probably mow sometime this week at night. We have an electric mower, so it's a lot quieter. So, you know, have such a huge yard.
3 o'clock in the morning, you're fine.
You know, so, you know, the DeWalt sale's coming up. Oh, my gosh, on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Holy crap, DeWalt sales on Wednesday.
Yeah. 2 days from now, dude.
Oh, I didn't bring the ad in.
What?
Oh, gosh. That means if you're a Milwaukee person, you have today and tomorrow left to come in and take advantage of the Milwaukee sale. But then starting May 1st, May and June's the DeWalt sale. So if you're a DeWalt person, your time has come. So this is the time. But, yeah, that battery-operated mower, it's pretty slick. If you don't have a huge yard, you don't need a lot of power, those 2 batteries will take care of you on that DeWalt mower.
Yeah, the one thing I have noticed that is missing in the store, unless I just haven't seen it, because you mentioned the electric mower, and once you go to an electric mower, then you might as well just go all in and get the little robot mower. Husqvarna's got a great one. I have not seen one of those in the store.
We don't carry them in the store, but we can get them through the rep. Yep. Steel also has that mower system as well.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, and the steel one's a little more intense. The steel one,
a little more robust.
Yeah, you know, they actually require, there is some groundwork that gets done, and it lays the path, and then you have to be like specialized in something to install this, but steel has it too. Yeah, those little you know, like the vacuum, the little Roomba, it's now moved out to the lawn, and we can get them in.
I've got some friends that have got a couple of the Husqvarnas, and it's like...
Do they like them?
Yeah, they love them. It's like, I got to go home and mow my lawn. What's that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, mine was done about an hour ago.
But that's just it. It's constantly mowing your lawn.
Yeah.
So your lawn always looks the same. It's not like it goes for a week and then the mower goes out and mows, and it's always manicured. It's like...
Right. And now's the time, too, for fertilizer, like that first application, when you're looking at that early spring crabgrass prevention, weed and feed, some of those first applications, this is the time. I
got mine down last week before all the rain.
Oh, see, you were smart.
And I had a patch in the backyard. I had to do a little overseeding, so I was thinking. I was planning ahead. It's like, we got rain coming, get that stuff down. But we got more rain coming, so...
Yeah, it should, hopefully, it'll be beautiful. You got a lot of time. Get your garden tilled. Get it ready. Get your lawn taken care of. I haven't done that yet. I
got to till the garden.
That's what I did. I did that over the weekend, because my wife wanted to get the carrots down.
I was thinking about it this past weekend, but it's still a little wet.
But what else we do with our carrots is we take a pitchfork And when we plant carrots, she has me step the pitchfork down into the ground. So we kind of make some pre-made little holes that the carrots can start. So sometimes you get those weird, odd-grown carrots. I take our pitchfork and I step it into the ground. I make a bunch of holes with the pitchfork and kind of wiggle a little bit. And then she just drops around those, so they kind of have some sort of root base.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't thought about that.
Yeah, it's more work, but
instead of the weather guy that when I was growing up that always had the weird fruit and vegetables that were grown kind of.
Yeah, because what? It's still cool, and I say it's for the kids. But when you can pull a huge carrot out of the ground, you're like, yeah, look what we grew.
Okay, Bugs Bunny.
But the kids love it, and they get to go and they're like, whoa, look at this one, and it makes them excited to get into the garden.
Okay, admit it, you're the kids.
Absolutely.
So, Brad Ock over at Runnings. Stop by the Cool Running Store, 701 South Washington in Bismarck. This is Talk at the Town on Super Talk 1270.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
1270.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bachel. I'm with Brad Ock from Runnings. You can stop by Runnings, 701 South Washington in Bismarck. The cool running store. They're not all cool, but we got the coolest one. Now, it's the one I shop at. Unless I'm in Belfouche or sometimes in Dickinson. I know you don't like that store as much.
We'll support them.
I'll go to Mandan too sometimes if I'm over there. But we're talking about some of the cool tool sales coming up starting this week, Wednesday, DeWalt. It's DeWalt time, so of course a lot of great sales there. The lawn and garden stuff, you got some great. By the way, still a good time to buy a snowblower, right?
Yeah, you know what? We sold one last week.
Did you really?
Yeah, 20. It's still 20% off. Like, why not? We have 5 sitting outside of the trailer, out of the, and we just happen to have the one the guy wanted.
Go make a deal on a snowblower. Still a good time, and the price is you can't beat the price. But a lot of different lawn and garden things. Of course, the greenhouse is up and running. Talked to Kev last week. You guys just had the big fishing equipment sale that ran. Kev always finds some other stuff to put on sale out in the sporting goods department. Of course, fishing is now the big thing, and you guys are a big part of the Big Muddy coming up.
Yeah, very excited for that. And that's a big passion of Kev's. Kev has been part of the Big Muddy for a while, just trying to be there as a representative of Runnings and to support that tournament. And he started running the live tanks a while back. And now we provide the tanks. We take our oxygen pump, little aerator thing over there. So we, as they take their fish in, they move from tank to tank. We have one that we try to pump oxygen into, just to help the fish kind of boost back up, get a little more energy, be ready, and then they get weighed. And then we take them down into the river into a big netted area. And that way if the fish, most of them can jump out and swim away, and then they get to go back out. The ones that aren't strong enough to get away, rather than potentially risking them dying somewhere, they have people ready who will process them, and then they bring them up for lure 'em for life. And they use them for fish fries and then for the kids. And so they have people who are there donating their time, filleting, processing, doing everything they can. So nothing's wasted from the fishing tournament. And last year, I can't even say it. I want to say it was like an 80 or 90% release rate on all the fish. They just had a phenomenal release rate on that.
It's funny, this weekend I was flipping through the channels and I didn't know this was a thing now, is like for a lot of the big bass tournaments, they've got an official on the boat and they weigh the boat, give an official, and the fish goes right back into the water.
Oh,
right
wow.
They don't even bring them in for tanks anymore.
Yep.
On a lot of the big money, like the circuits, they've got an official right on the boat.
Oh, wow,
and
that's
cool. And they're
cool.
weighing and then releasing the fish right there.
You know, and that's great for the fish, and it's really cool they can do that. It takes a little away from like the excitement of the weigh-in.
It does.
But when you think about the long term of the sport.
But this is made for TV stuff. I mean, it's not like the big tournament.
That's true.
This is the circuit.
Okay.
So with the circuit, it's, a lot of those events. So if you're catching fish, the big weigh-in is the last day.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in the process, they're going, oh, yep, they're calculating the weights right on the fly.
That's
Boom,
really
done.
neat. When you do, you can preserve the sport and kind of have a little bit more there.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. So, of course, there's a big waiting line to get in. The list is huge to get into the tournament because it's filled up all the time.
And once you're in, you're in.
Yeah, and then people have been there and waiting forever. But it is one of my favorite days to go fishing because I just go fish downstream of the net. And I always do well.
You know what? We always have a couple customers who come in and show us photos of what they caught the days afterwards. They're like, "That's just so cool. You guys do that live well." And it's really neat. I'm glad people recognize it and see it as a positive for the sport. And so, it's really neat. So the Big Muddy's been a fun thing. I got to go over a couple years ago. It's typically my weekend to work, so I can't run over there. But the guys love it. People volunteer every week, every year.
Sure Kev is like, hey, we need something over here. I'll run that over for you.
Okay, I'll be right
I'll be
there.
back in a little bit. You can figure out something to make it work. Well, it's cool because we've been seeing a lot of people fishing on the river and people knocking it out of the park. And now this week's cool because we're going to see a lot of the professionals that are in the tournament and some of the sponsored guys. And they're going to be out there with their big boats pre-fishing, and that's kind of fun to watch, too.
Yeah. Oh, those boats are insane.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
It's like, wait a minute, that's more than my house.
Yeah, and not only that, but I'm always amazed how far away when the start time is. I mean, how far upstream or downstream those guys go.
Oh, yeah.
They're pre-fishing out there now. Like, they're out there kind of seeing what's happening. They'll all start rolling in, and then they'll go.
Well, and that's the one thing with that tournament being early in the spring like this, it takes a while because the river changes every year over the course of the winter. So just because you're in that tournament one year and you've got your track laid out, it's an entirely different track the following year. So it takes a little bit more pre-fishing to try to figure out where you're going and the different patterns that have changed in the river and the currents and
I would imagine. I mean, I don't know a lot about a lot of other rivers. A lot of this that probably happens on lakes, I would assume, right? Or larger, wider rivers than what we have to offer.
Without all the sandbars, yeah.
Like that's what's unique to us is the sandbar situation around here because those shift so much. And so these guys come in. I wonder what that's. I'm curious, like what that's like for these guys coming. Like, oh god, look at that. Ooh.
Well, you might have to hop onto the running boat someday and just
during the
pre-fishing because they'll take people with them on the pre-fishing.
Absolutely,
sometimes.
Greg is fantastic. He'll do it.
One of the other things I wanted to talk about, you've kind of expanded a little bit into 4-H. You've grown. Great announcement.
So every year we go to the premium sale for the 4-H and we get involved with that, but there's so much more. And as the more I'm with runnings, the more I'm finding out like 4-H is so much beyond livestock. There's growing and building and designing and drawing, and there's all these other categories inside of 4-H. So we decided to become a major sponsor. I think it's like a grand champion sponsor this year to support beyond the premium and the livestock side and get more involved. I wish I could remember what they called that side building. But that way we can get more involved with that. And so during their week when they're out there presenting, we'll be able to go in and see the kids who are doing stuff beyond cattle, sheep, pigs, horses, and all that. And we'll get to see they have a pet section kind of. They have rabbits and chickens and a whole other category, exotic pets or something.
Well, I mean, think about it. A big part of livestock, the feed lot. And, you might have that 4-H kid that is going into engineering that, hey, I can design a better feedlot.
One of our associates at the store is in hippology.
Yeah.
So that's what she does. And she was kind of that inspiration of, I don't support that side of 4-H, and you work for us.
But it's a big part.
It's a huge part. So, so having her work in our farm departments kind of made us look a little bit deeper into 4-H on, there's so much more than the premium
4-H
sale.
is such a great program, offers so much for the kids. So absolutely phenomenal and great expanded partnership there with Runnings and 4-H. PBR is coming up in the not distant future.
Yeah, we just got that put in as well. Very excited to be part of Chad Burgers, Buck and Bowls, right? So we've done that forever, and the rodeo piece I'm getting involved with, right? I've been to a couple now. I'm excited about it. The kids are sort of involved with it. They really like it. Our youngest, he really likes it. So,
baby steps, so it's going to be a while before we see you on the back of a bull, right?
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
But it's coming, right? Maybe
we can get that, the mechanical one.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Oh, community days. Yes.
If somebody wants to get a hold of you because they've got a fundraiser, a community event that they'd like Runnings to be a part of, how do they do that?
Just come on down to the store and talk to me. Call the store and talk to me. I'm there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 7 to 5. I close every Friday, 10 to 8, and I'm there every other weekend. So you just got to come say hi.
And make sure you stop at the greenhouse now, up and running, and all kinds of good
Buy
stuff.
all the plants.
Yeah, they've got more plants coming in.
Yeah.
3 times a week?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings at 8.
Big truck coming in, so make sure you stop by the greenhouse at Runnings, 701 South Washington in Bismarck. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
KLXX Mandan Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.